to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
Welcome, Forgers, to episode 14 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and I'm here with the amazingly badass co-host of the show, Kristen Ashton. Hey, Kristen.
I'm feeling great today, Jeff. How are you doing today?
Was that the badass part that made you do that?
It was the badass part. You're feeding me a character, so I got to go with it.
I know, I wrote that in there, and I'm like, you know, with Ripped for BlizzCon and all that stuff, you are pretty badass, so that is merited.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. I've lived my life to be called a badass.
Mission accomplished. We're just accomplishing dreams one show at a time over here at Heroes Forge. Speaking of other badass things, I'm going to have to say that your Heroes of the Dorm bracket points are pretty badass.
Oh, dude, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Although I'm sitting at 870, but on the leaderboard, that puts me at number 2,147. So while it feels a little good, it's really not that good in the whole scope of things.
I know, and there are some people on that leaderboard that are undefeated, like they've picked everything right so far.
Correct. At the moment, it's Man Bear Pig versus Mosley, and the two are sharing the top spot with 1,070 points.
Gosh, they win for best names. Man, Bear Pig, and Mosley.
That they do. But it looks like you have ASU left in the final, though, right?
That's all I got. I'm riding on 540 points, so I don't even know where I am in the in the list of how many people. It's way down there, but still, my home team, like we talk about every week, ASU is still in the fight, so maybe they'll bring it home, and I can't wait to watch it next weekend. It's going to be so great, and obviously because the show is recorded on Sunday, that's when the main Heroes of the Dorm stuff is going down, so we're going to be recording next Monday night instead of Sunday night so that you can all watch it, and then that's April 11th at 8 p.m. Pacific. So if you're tuning into the show live normally on Sundays, we're going to be kind of pushing it back one day just so everybody can watch the Heroes of the Dorm, and then of course on Monday we can talk about it.
Oh yeah, and basically that'll be the entire show. I don't even know if we'll pick a hero. It'll just be Heroes of the Dorm Forged.
That's right, Forged. And, you know, if you win the $10,000 magically, you know, something crazy happens, then maybe we can talk about how you're going to spend your $10,000.
Oh, it's going to be, I'm going to take out enough for taxes, so don't have to worry about that, and then invest wisely, because that $10,000 can go a long way.
It can go a long way. You know, man, if I won $10,000, I don't know what I would do.
Go to Disney?
Yeah, maybe I would go to Disneyland, you know, because that sounds awesome, right? Everybody loves going to Disneyland. But Heroes of the Dorm, the people that win that, or the teams that win that, rather, they win more than $10,000. I mean, they're winning some serious scholarship money. So good luck to all of those teams that are out there. I know that I'll be rooting for ASU, but I'm just happy that Blizzard has a program like this or a tournament like this that they can support college kids and build the infrastructure of people for the game.
Agreed, 100%. And it's the perfect age too, right? Because a lot of the players are very young. So if you get them in college and then they go on to become professional esports players, how cool is that?
Oh, yeah. And when do you have more time to play video games than when you're in college? When I was in college, all I did was play video games.
Exactly. It is the prime time for video game playing.
It definitely is. But I mean, and imagine if right now, if you were a Heroes fan and you were in college, or even if you had a ton of time to play, now's the time to be playing Heroes with the new ban system in place. I've had an opportunity to play a couple of rounds with that, and I did get the bans once.
Did you? Congratulations! So you were the highest MMR there in the team. How did it go?
It went. You know, I try to be nice, and maybe I should have not been nice, and maybe I should have done what I thought was the good thing to do, but I'm asking the team, I'm chatting them up, nobody's chatting back to me. At one point, I mean, everybody just thinks that they know what's going on, so they're all yelling things at me, and I'm doing things, and I know that, I mean, that's another element that I didn't really think about when the bans came out, is that if you ban the wrong person, or the person that someone doesn't like to be banned, then they can write you off for the whole rest of the game, and then they can just throw the game because they're upset about whatever had happened, or they just disconnect, or then you lose your chance to do the bans and all that. So I was just thinking maybe I should just roll with the punches here. So we did, and we ended up winning, but it just didn't feel as good as I wanted it to that one time, but I'm hoping it will happen again.
Certainly, but at least you won, so that's definitely something, right? So
Yeah.
you said it didn't feel too good. Was it because you're basically giving into the whims of your team? So you yourself didn't actually get to pick anything?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I wanted it to be like, oh, you have the highest MMR, you have the power, and really you do. And if I had taken that power and I had been like, no, I'm going to ban Li Ming, because I don't want to play against Li Ming, and our team comp probably won't do too well versus her. But instead, it turned out to be, you know, arguing between people back and forth about who to get banned. And if it was just nice banter between people trying to figure it out, oh, okay, here's what our team comp's going to be. Maybe we should do this. Oh, I'm thinking maybe we should do that. That would have been different. But it was more, you know, it was salty back and forth. I'm hoping that I can get the ban again. Have you had it?
I haven't had it quite yet, but I'm also working on getting my 14 hero roster together. Because last time I played Hero League, it was just the 10 heroes.
Yeah.
12 heroes? Yeah, you needed 12 heroes.
I can't remember, but it was less.
Yes, but anyway, now you need 14, so I need to put together my roster because I realized I don't have enough healers and I don't have enough specialists. I only have Lily as a healer, and when in fact, if she gets banned or taken, and I was telling my team I was going to go healer, then I've just lost the game pretty much for our team. So
yeah,
I'm making sure I have my roster solidified enough so that I can play any role that needs to be played.
Good for you. That's a really good, responsible Hero League thing to do. You know, these other people just come romping on in and they just, you know, buy all these heroes and just get them up to the high enough level to be able to be, you know, okay with them.
Exactly, but there's no fire, there's no passion when you do that. I mean, I like finding heroes that I connect with, the ones that I feel an emotional response to. Like Lily is great because she's annoying and she's fast and she's always joking about stuff. And but then you get Thrall, and I love hitting people in the face with my hammer with Thrall.
Yeah, it's definitely a play style thing. Like, you got to pick the heroes that you play, that you enjoy. I think that drives winning teams way better. You know, that's one thing that I do say in the chat. People will be like, should I pick a Nubarak or should I pick Arthas? And I say, whatever you want to play, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Exactly.
Because in my league especially, there's not a whole lot of synergy when it comes to a lot of things. Now, if you're going into rank 1, you know, and you've got a wombo combo that you're trying to accomplish, yeah, maybe you do have a hero that you'd rather them pick. But in mine, whatever you think will get us to win.
It's a free-for-all so long as you're playing a hero you know how to play.
Exactly. Love it. So lots of stuff going on. Have you had a chance to play Danaka at all?
I haven't had a chance to play him yet, but I've played with him on my team. Kyle's been playing the heck out of that character. And we had a game last night where I was Sylvanas and he was Dahaka, and we wrecked. Absolutely wrecked. The poor team on this Infernal Shrines map had no idea what was going on.
Oh, that's so fun. It's fun to be on that end of it, but then I literally, when I'm playing with my friends and something like that is happening, I say, I feel so good, but I've been on the other end of this. I know what it's like to just completely wipe the game, and I'm the person that even if all of our forts, all of our towers, everything is down and they're fighting on the core and we haven't taken a single thing out, I'm still at the core battling.
Well, you gotta be, right? Because every so often there's that game where you manage to take the win even in the face of defeat. Like, you wipe the enemy team, they're on your core, and you base rush and you take it. And oh, those few games are amazing.
That's why I love medevac dropship for things like that, because you can just drop right in. I've saved some of my replays from that because we've just been completely annihilated and down, and we're all dead. And then as soon as everyone spawns, jump in the dropship, fly all the way over, and just take out the little tiny percentage on the core and win the game.
No way.
It's a great feeling. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It's great as long as everyone plays along.
Fair enough.
Speaking of, though, tell me a little bit about the Heroes Spring Championship. I didn't get a chance to watch it much this weekend. Was it pretty awesome?
It was very, very awesome. The games I saw were last night. So there was E-Star and MVP that I watched. And then, of course, MVP went on to play Edward's game. Edward's game?
Yes.
It began with Edward. And those, I mean, Edward tried really, really hard, but it was very, very clear from the start that MVP was just going to take it. And they took it undefeated as well, which is basically unheard of, I think, so far in any major Heroes tournament.
Yeah, that is so cool. I mean, talk about synergy. Those teams got it down. And like we talked about a few weeks ago, you know, they don't want to reveal their strategies and all that. So when they're playing other teams, they don't want to reveal everything that they've practiced. And I think that's such a cool aspect of those tournaments. And just, you know, I was talking to my dad, and because he follows me on Twitter, and he's like, what's all this stuff that you're tweeting about, all this, you know, Heroes of the Dorm stuff? What is that? I was like, well, Dad, let's watch it. And then we kind of watched it, and he wasn't really into it, but he could understand that. And I feel like that's a great thing, is that people are starting to understand esports, and it's things like this spring championship and just the drama of it that drives people to watch it.
Certainly. And what we really, really have to thank the professional teams for is the tension that it builds, because these teams don't rush into team fights. Oh no, they wait and they bide their time. And then when a team fight breaks out, I mean, there were at least 5 different times I said, oh man, he's dead. But the hero didn't die because their healers are pro, their movements are pro. It's my blood pressure skyrocketed so many times last night.
That is so cool. And I saw some really good highlight reels of some awesome Stitches hooks that just came out of nowhere and grabbed somebody. I mean, it's a shot in the dark sometimes, and those guys land it and pull it straight in. It's just so cool.
Yeah, and then that Stitches had an Uther right by him as well. So Stitches would hook someone in, Uther would stun them, and then that poor hero, didn't even stand a chance.
Deleted, which is really cool. Sad to hear that my favorite team, Cloud9, didn't make it to the end, but I mean, jet lag's got to play a part of that. I mean, those guys are traveling all over the world. It's like a real sport. It's really cool.
It really is. It really is. And it was really, really neat to watch as well. The stage setup was probably the coolest one I'd seen.
Oh, yeah.
Because instead of them being sat next to one another in a line, the desks were staggered back into a V formation. That was pretty cool.
That's really cool. I really dig that. And the production quality, of course, was really great. And all the highlight reels that I saw, it was pretty awesome. So that's cool. What about other games that you've been playing? My friend actually bought an Oculus Rift.
No way!
For VR, which is crazy right now. I mean, that's really expensive. But he bought it, and I haven't even tried it yet. Have you tried any sort of VR?
The last VR I've ever tried was at Disney Quest. I think they might have gutted it nowadays. But back in the day, Disney Quest was this 3-story building with crazy video games and stuff. And they had a VR simulator. But I put it on, and you get about 10 minutes with it. And I took it off, and I was the sickest I'd ever been.
Oh, no.
I usually don't get motion sick, but this was, something I hope I never have to relive again.
Oh, no. Bummer. Yeah, I'm excited I don't get motion sick easy, so that's good. But I'm excited to see it because, you know, IGN gave it a 9 out of 10, saying that it's going to be great, and it just doesn't have the infrastructure right now, you know, all this stuff. That's obvious with it's basically like a new console that's launching, a new way to play video games that's launching. It's not going to have, you know, anything but perfect dark on it when it comes out. Yeah. But I saw the videos and I thought you could play World of Warcraft in this.
That'd be pretty sweet.
You could definitely kind of. And I wonder if they're even thinking about that, how that would be the ultimate World of Warcraft experience.
That would be incredible because, I mean, even without VR, when you come across those portals and everything else they've hidden across the world, it's fantastic to look at. So I could only imagine.
It is too cool. So I'm excited to try it. I'll let you know if I get
Please
motion sick because I hope I don't. But too expensive for me right now. Maybe someday if Warcraft came out on it, it would be an automatic purchase, I know, for me. But lots of stuff out there. You still playing BioShock?
I am. I'm still on BioShock 2. I've killed a few more big sisters. I've saved a few more little girls. And still learning just how crazy this evil, evil woman is.
Yep. Pretty crazy. I'll tell you that. Pretty crazy. Yeah, I haven't been playing anything but Heroes and some Hearthstone, getting ready for that next Hearthstone expansion to be coming out, and listening to shows like The Angry Chicken, which just blow my mind that these guys can memorize all the card names and they analyze everything, and it gets me pumped. It makes me want to be able to do that. But, you know, just like in Heroes, I'm at the bottom ranks of Hearthstone too, but I still have a blast playing it.
And that's the important part, especially. And I like too that the tavern brawls generally are very friendly for everyone. Yeah, you don't need specific cards to win a tavern brawl.
Right. Playing it for fun is always the way I like to roll. You know, if we lose sight of how fun video games are, then what's the point? So that is exactly how I feel about this show too, is that it's all about fun, and it's all lots of fun that we're going to be going into forging our hero on this show. And before we do that, let's go ahead and let's forge.
Let's forge.
All right, like we said at the top of the show, this is Heroes Forge. If this is your first time listening to the show, welcome to the show. We are so happy you're here. We're getting new people listening to the show all the time, so I just want to fill you in on how this all works. We're going to take a hero from the Blizzard universe, and Kristen and I are both going to imagine what that hero would look like if it was moved over to Heroes of the Storm. Lots of characters. I mean, they're up to 50 characters in Heroes of the Storm now, which is crazy to me, and they're just going to keep going and going. I believe Dustin Browder said that they're just going to keep coming out with heroes until we get sick of it. So this show is just going to keep going and going and going because we want to see some of these heroes in the Nexus from the Blizzard universe. So without further ado, Kristen, who are we forging this week?
Today, we are doing Garrosh Hellscream from World of Warcraft / Hearthstone.
Great. Another villain / not a villain / maybe?
I think in the end he proved himself to be a villain because he blamed Thrall for everything. He never took responsibility for his actions, and I think that's a very common villain trope.
Yes, but what a journey he went on in the lore of the game of Warcraft, and then, you know, seeing a familiar face like that in Hearthstone is just so awesome. So, Kristen, why don't you tell us a little bit about his backstory?
Garrosh Hellscream lived afraid of being consumed by the lust for power that befell his father, Grom, and Garrosh died because of his inability to overcome such a thirst. A hardened warrior free from the servitude brought on by the imbibing of Manaroth's blood, Hellscream's red-poxed sickness seemed a blessing in disguise. While he harbored a fear of what he could become based on his father's sins, Thrall saved him from a lifetime of insecurities, explaining the heroic acts Grom had taken during those final moments. Many would soon come to see this as the beginning of Garrosh's end. No longer hindered by family fears, Hellscream grew in confidence and recklessness. As Thrall's advisor, he argued vehemently to not trust any from the Alliance. As leader of the Horde, he made no attempt at keeping peace between its various factions. He even succeeded in nearly severing Horde and Alliance ties with his destruction of Theramore. But Hellscream would never achieve his father's glory by eventually realizing his flaws and redeeming himself. Even during his final moments at the hands of Thrall, Garrosh cursed the one person that ever truly put faith in him, and the one person who, many would argue, set him down this path of destruction.
Yes. Yes, I love it. I love his story. I love that whole piece in the end. Great writing. That was good, Kristen.
Thank you very
really
much. I do my best.
and a wonderful performance. I mean, I got the chills just feeling this. And, you know, he is such an iconic character in the most recent Warcraft expansion, all of that. You know, he is very, very involved.
Yeah, well, he's the one that goes back in time to stop Grom from drinking the blood, and he still messes up. Gosh darn it, Garrosh. You just can't do nothing right.
He can't, and that's kind of cool, though. I like that he can't, because that just shows that, you know, it's in him to, you know, stop at nothing to be able to do what he feels is the best.
Exactly, blinded by his own vision for not failing.
Yeah. Yeah, his own vision of what the world should be, or how it should all be laid out. Yeah, it's crazy. So now what we're going to do is Kristen built a build for Garrosh. I built a build. It's a kit, so what we're going to do is talk through all of the abilities that we think he would have if he was in Heroes of the Storm. And the first thing we always talk about to start with is the character's role classification if it was in Heroes. And I went with Warrior.
I have to say, great minds think alike, because I too also went with Warrior.
Yeah, I don't think there's much. I mean, I guess you could stretch it to Assassin maybe. I was thinking maybe Kristen will go Assassin, but Warrior just, it sings true, right?
It's true, yeah, and he's huge. Watching those the cutscene of him versus Thrall at the very end there, he is enormous. He is an elephantine man.
Yeah, he's massive, and he's got these huge shoulder pads, and he's got this huge axe and all this, and he is a very intimidating, strong presence, and I think Warrior says that the best.
I agree.
Awesome. So 2 Warrior builds. This will be fun. It usually is fun when we both build the same role, because then there's differences and then there's similarities, which are really cool. So what was your trait for your Warrior version of Garrosh?
My trait for Garrosh is called Damage is Power. Garrosh never inspired through leadership. Garrosh inspired through pain. When activated, this trait allows Garrosh to deal minor amounts of damage to his teammates to give himself a shield, and the damaged compatriots a boost to attack speed.
Ah, very sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, because that's one of the traits we look for in tanks is, you know, or in warriors rather, can they get out there and sustain the damage and be able to take all the hits while everyone else is trying to DPS everyone down or heal, right?
Correct. And what I really wanted to do with this is differentiate him from Artanis, because we know Artanis survives off of his shields. Mm-hmm. Really, really good Artanises are practically unkillable. So I wanted to make it so that he was more shield than health based, so he didn't have to lose health to get shields. He didn't have to sacrifice anything, because in Hearthstone as well, your heroic, not your heroic, but your
hero power.
Yes, thank you. Your hero power is to gain a shield. So that's what I kind of built off of.
Yeah, it's great. I love that. And even if you went with like the armor kind of feel of it too, that's exactly Hearthstone kind of feel.
Yeah.
I really like that idea. And it is different than Artanis. You know, Artanis, they can stay in the battle, and when they get low, they have to, like you said, sacrifice the health in order to sustain. But this is kind of the opposite, right?
Exactly. You do damage to sustain, and I like that.
I love it. That fits the lore, right? I mean, that screams Garrosh to me. Like, he's just bloodthirsty and ready to do whatever it takes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I dig it. My trait over on this warrior side is called My Father's Son. And as seen throughout the Warcraft universe, both Garrosh and his father would do whatever it takes to accomplish their goals for the Horde. Furious warrior blood trails through their veins, fueling them for the upcoming battles and decisions that had to be made, no matter what the cost. In the Nexus, Garrosh's trait would embody this very quality. Each basic attack that Garrosh lands on a foe will create a stack of frenzy. When Garrosh reaches 30 stacks of frenzy, he can choose to activate this trait to ignore pain and stop taking damage for a short amount of time. During this time, he is able to move and act as he would normally, but when the time on this ability has completed, he will immediately receive all of the damage that was dealt to him while the ability was activated. This would make him a frontline bruiser that would be able to live a short amount of time past his death, quote unquote, to ensure the job was done.
Oh, nice. So you're going for more of a berserker build.
Yeah.
I like it.
So I'm thinking that, I mean, the way this word, that's a whole wordy thing for, basically this is, at any given point in time, I can kind of pause the damage that's going on Garrosh. So say you're in a big team fight and you're about to go down, you can activate your trait as long as you have enough stacks of what I called frenzy, and then it will pause the damage. People can still attack you and you're still going to take that damage, but not for a certain amount of time. Then when that time is over, see you later. You're going to take all that damage and you're probably going to die because people are going to, do that, but it keeps you in the fight.
Yeah, for just that little bit longer. And I love the fact that you could probably use it to soak ult damage, which would be incredibly powerful if you know when to activate it to soak the ult damage.
Yeah, that's great. Or you could just walk into something crazy, just know that you're going to die. But, I mean, that would change the whole way that, some tanks are played where, you're trying to get out of a Hyperion or something and you're running out. Instead, you would activate your Fury stacks and it would just enrage you. You always see that, like, Boromir in Lord of the Rings or whatever. He's dead, basically.
Yes.
But he's going to save them, and it just powers him through it, and then at the end he dies because he doesn't have that fury fueling him anymore.
Yeah, and I like that it plays to the good part of Garrosh, because Garrosh wasn't entirely a bad dude. There was something noble in him, I think, that got muddied along the way.
Yeah.
And I think, hit that connection to Boromir there, that final push to make sure his team sees victory, I think definitely embodies him.
Yeah, I dig that. Really, really cool. So cool. 2 completely different builds that are going on here. It's just awesome. I love it. Makes the show entertaining and different. Very cool. The next thing that we're going to talk about is the hero's mount and their mounting ability. I said that he would ride a normal mount, but if he had to have a specialty mount, like when he was released with the game, I thought it'd be cool if he rode like a mini purple horde zeppelin, like the actual like blimp, that like carried him around.
So how would he fit in this mini zeppelin? That's what because Garrosh is probably the size of Cho'Gall. No, not actually, but
very carefully is how he would fit in this mini zeppelin. But I played Horde in Vanilla WoW, and I just remember riding that zeppelin, and I thought it was so cool that you could go so far, out. The world was so big, and so the zeppelin just stayed in my mind, and I thought, that really says orc to me, so maybe a mini zeppelin. What were you thinking?
I was thinking he would have his Mountaroth, and the tusks he has on his shoulders are Manaroths, so he would pull these tusks off, and it would summon the Pit Lord as his mount.
Oh my. Wow. That would be a sight in the game. It would be awesome.
It would be such a fun little animation, too.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so awesome, because I'm just imagining everything that would be happening around him once it's summoned.
Oh, it would be crazy.
Oh, that is so cool. And then, of course, mounts can be used by all heroes that are in the game, so the first thing I think of is Murky. Murky riding the Pit Lord.
Oh my god, that would be hilarious. He'd have to get those tusks from somewhere else. Unless when you have the mount equipped, you automatically have little tusk shoulder pads.
Done. That is such a good idea. I really, really like that. Super cool. And that's really different than a mini purple zeppelin. That's very different. That's a really cool idea. I want to see Murky riding the Pit Lord. Anyways, moving on to basic abilities for our 2 builds. Kristen, what were you thinking for the first basic ability on your side for Garrosh?
First basic ability, I'm going with Abundant Armor. And instead of dealing damage, all hits done to enemy units and heroes are returned as armor instead. These stacks are lost on death.
Great. That has got a great feel. That's got that sustain feel from, the game now, Warcraft, and then it's got that good Hearthstone feel because, when you play a warrior in Hearthstone, they armor up and armor up and armor up until they get to,
So they get good cards.
until they get to 40 armor.
Don't have anything you want to play, just add some armor there.
It's great. That's so great. So you die and then you lose all your stacks.
Correct. So that way you wouldn't become entirely unstoppable. You would have to keep earning your armor.
And it goes well with your trait too because, again, you're not sacrificing health in order to gain sustainability.
Correct.
Great. Love it. My Q over here is called Sow Terror. Garrosh wields his father's deadly two-handed axe Gorehowl. It is said throughout Azeroth that Gorehowl has sown terror across hundreds of battlefields. When this ability is activated, Garrosh raises Gorehowl above his head and brings it down with incredible strength, dealing damage to the enemy in the way. The enemy hit with this powerful blow is stunned for a very short second before they can regain their composure.
I like it. I love having those short stunts. I was sad when they took it away from Stitches, so I would be more than happy to see this given to Garrosh.
Yeah, and again, talking about your Pit Lord animation, the Sow Terror animation in my mind would just be so cool. He'd raise it above his head, say something, one of his many super powerful lines in the game, and then just bring that thing crashing down. And it would take a second because I wanted to do some serious damage. And, the stun is less important in my mind. The damage is like this Gorehowl two-handed axe that he wields with one hand. I mean, that's how massive this guy is.
Yeah, and it's probably bigger than most heroes, actually. I think, and probably weighs more than most heroes as well.
Right, like the Lilies and the Murkies out there.
So would it split the ground upon landing?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, but I didn't want it to be too much like Thrall. I didn't want to have that, whole same kind of feel. So yeah, I don't know. And there's a really cool piece of lore that is about Gorehowl. When Garrosh is actually taken down, his Gorehowl actually is still in the spot that he was taken down because it's stuck in the ground in the world of Azeroth.
Oh.
So that's a good question because there'd be a cool way maybe that you could tie that into the game. Maybe
Definitely. Oh, you could call it could be a heroic called King Arthur. And whoever so pulleth, or Thor, right? Mjolnir.
Yeah, there'd be something cool to do with that. I mean, if we were going to try to go a build where we were incorporating weapons or some sort of weapon, mechanic to the game, because, we're game developers here, so that's what we're going to talk about. But maybe you could drop it, and then you would have to pick it back up somehow or some way. I mean, that's really off topic and way out there, but...
That would be incredible, though. And could you imagine riding on your horse and you ride by and you grab it off the ground like, so many
cool.
movies?
So cool.
Oh, God, that would be incredible.
For my second basic ability over here on my build, I have it called Conquer. And Battle Again fuels Garrosh. He is able to strike quickly and consistently at his enemy, anything to conquer the enemy team. When this ability is activated, Garrosh immediately swings forward with 3 basic auto attacks. These attacks count towards his trait and allows him to gain stacks faster.
That would be cool. It would be a great way to push people back as well. Kind of like Leoric's swing.
That's exactly what I was going for, but I didn't want it to be any more overpowered, or any more powerful, I should say, than a normal basic attack. It's just 3 quick, Gorehowl swipes. Just whoosh, 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 and then back to basic attacking. That puts you up 3 more swipes. If you keep spamming that, your trait will be ready quicker, and then you have more sustainability.
Yeah, definitely. And could you imagine, too, how quickly you could clear a lane if you needed to?
Oh, yeah. That's good. Maybe not so good for a tank. I mean, Leoric had that at the beginning with his skeletal swing.
Yeah.
When he first came out, you could just walk straight up to a mob and take the whole thing down with one swing. Which
And do you remember
awesome.
Johanna as well?
Oh, yeah. And they kind of take that away from the tank, so maybe that wouldn't be the best for him, but I thought it would be cool to kind of correspond with the trait that I had built for him.
Yeah, and I mean, as long as it does that on release, they can always fix it later, right?
Yeah, that's their job. I'm just giving them the ideas. So what were you thinking for his second basic ability?
For the second one, I gotta go with Taunt. I love Taunt cards in Hearthstone. And when activated, all enemy heroes within this ability's radius must attack Garrosh or suffer decreased attack and ability damage.
Oh, that's a really, really good way or a different way of doing taunt, because that's something that lives in all of these games. Warcraft, Hearthstone, these taunt characters where, you know, when I was taking lessons from heroes about, you know, you really can't taunt anything in the game currently.
No.
If you go up to a merc camp or something like that, the only way you can have them attacking you instead of, you know, Jaina in the back line is to be the closest person to it. And that doesn't feel tanky to me in some aspects. So this is really neat. So tell me, oh, that is so cool. So you can still attack other heroes or minions, but you are just reduced.
Correct. So you both basic attacks and your abilities wouldn't be nearly as effective. So it would be definitely to your benefit to attack Garrosh. And that would really kind of play into the fact that he would have this huge armor pull to take from. So he could tank that damage.
So he chooses when the taunt goes up because it's a basic ability.
Correct.
So the high skill cap part of this would be you wouldn't want to taunt people if you didn't have the armor.
Exactly.
Right, because you're going to take a bunch of damage because people are just going to turn straight to you and be like, well, I want to do full damage. And that'd be a great distracting technique. And what do you think the animation would be for that?
Oh man, I would imagine he stands there, beats his chest, and lets out a scream so that everyone knows it's time to mess him up and he's ready.
Yeah, that fits the lore in my mind. Just, you know, that huge Garrosh scream that just gets people, you know, enraged. I think that's so great. So great. For my next basic ability, I have it called Smash. So Garrosh's physical strength, like we've been talking about, among many other things, is what makes him extremely valuable on the battlefield. When this ability is used, Garrosh lowers his shoulder and charges forward, dealing damage and knocking back the first target in his path. The target hit with this ability gains a concussion-like effect called Confused. If the player playing the confused hero chooses to move while confused, they will move in a random direction at the same distance as they selected.
Oh, that's great.
It might be a little heroic in a way, but so basically if you get charged by Garrosh's Smash, you're hit, you have this little daze above you, you can still move, but if I click, you know, halfway across the map, my hero is going to move in a different direction the same distance.
Oh, so just the same distance. Gotcha. I thought it was more of a, they would kind of stumble around for a few seconds in one direction and then shift.
Well, basically, that's what I'm thinking would happen, because you know how much we click in these MOBAs.
Yes.
You're just clicking. But you would quickly find out that once you got smashed, that you should probably stay still, or you might be taken straight into the enemy team. Who knows? You might be taken back to where you want to go. It's just like a little bit of a confused kind of thing.
Oh, man, could you imagine, too? Because not only has Garrosh smashed you, he has confused you, so he's going to be up in your face.
Yeah.
And probably do his 3 quick special conqueror attacks. And you're just like, oh, I can't even... Where am I? Where am I?
Yeah. It's crazy. It would be a crazy feel, right? Because, again, like we've talked about in the past, we want some sort of fear in the game. And you know when you get feared in Warcraft, you just start running, like in a random direction. So that's kind of what I was trying to get at there.
And the panic it would incite works great, too. I would love it.
Yeah, and especially in the Bronze League, it'd be really fun to just watch people run straight into the team or, you know, into a bush or into a merc camp or something because they're confused and they don't know what's going on.
Oh, Bronze League.
I always tie it back to Bronze League over here.
We love you, Bronzers.
You should really come down and play with us bronze people. It's pretty fun.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day I'll jump back down there.
I don't blame you for staying where people are, you know, there's a lot of bronze people, though, that are like me, where they have a good understanding of the game. They're just stuck. But mostly bronze people, you know, they're just new to the game. They're just getting in there. So maybe they don't listen to these podcasts. Maybe they don't know exactly what they're doing. And I certainly don't know exactly what I'm doing when I'm in there either. So it can provide a really entertaining really entertaining game every once in a while. It's a blast. So what were you thinking for his next basic ability?
So for the next basic one, I'm doing Heroic Strike. And it gives a target-friendly hero additional damage to their next basic attack. If this next basic attack hits an enemy hero, Garrosh receives armor equal to the damage done.
Love it. That is so cool. So he targets a hero to buff, basically.
Yes.
Very cool. So, okay, I'm trying to think about the best kind of heroes to buff here. It would just be anyone that hits hard that's close to hitting somebody.
Basically, I mean, I immediately thought of Vala because she does great amounts of damage. I think the non-CC assassins would be the best because single target assassins with their basic attack damage are insane. I mean, Butcher, if you really get him up there,
Yeah.
oof.
Yeah, so then you just got a whole bunch of armor. Once they hit, I mean, even you could get a Vala or a Jaina in there with your build, land a huge attack once they have that on them, and then taunt. You know, because right after they land that attack, they're gonna Garrosh is gonna gain all that armor, and then he can taunt and take all those hits while that assassin gets out or keeps hitting. You know, you'd have to play it, but that'd be awesome.
There we go.
Wombo combo. That's the best. I dig it. Some really, really good basic abilities here, some fun mounting abilities. Before we get into the next and best part of the show, I really want to thank everyone that's dropped us a review on iTunes. It's been so great to get all this positive feedback. Keep the iTunes reviews coming, and if you have ideas that you'd like to see on the show, of heroes that you'd like to see, send us an email. Contact HeroesForge@gmail.com. That's our email address. Send us your ideas. Once a month we do a spotlight show where we spotlight the community, which is you guys listening and watching the show. And we want all of your ideas. So send them via email and we will do that. All right, well, let's get into the best part. Let's forge the heroics.
Heroic.
All right, I'm going to start this one with my heroics. I'm not sure about these. I'll have to get your opinion on them.
I already
Who's
agree
tough?
with all of them. That's my opinion. I love them.
Haven't even heard them, but I agree with all of them. It's tough for me to build a warrior heroics just because I want those crazy, crazy abilities that do crazy damage and all this, so sometimes it doesn't turn out so well. But my first heroic is called Propellant. War cries are known to both devastate the enemy and fuel troops to do unbelievable things in battle. When this ability is activated, Garrosh looks up to the heavens and lets out a scream that allows him to take half damage for a short amount of time. During this time, the stacks of Frenzy, which we talked about in his trait, stack to fuel Garrosh instead. When affected by this ability, for every 5 auto attacks, the stacks deplete, and Garrosh lets out another scream, fueling him further into battle, each scream giving him a buff of only taking 50% damage. This, in effect, allows the player to to chain the screams to continue to take reduced damage. When this ability is completed, the player goes back to collecting Frenzy for Garrosh's trait.
Oh my god, that is perfect warrior. Because I don't know about any other warrior players out there, but it's either go ham or go home.
That's right.
That's what I love about it. Yeah. So being able to take less damage, screaming as you go forward, oh, that's beautiful. It really is a thing of beauty.
Yeah, you gotta keep auto attacking though, which is the thing that I have to really focus on when I'm playing the game, is to continue auto attacking, not using just abilities. When you get into a tight team fight, because if you activate this heroic, and it's supposed to propel you through the battle, that's why I called it Propellant. Because I wanted it to just push you through. So I'm picturing every 5 attacks he just goes raw and just gains that 50% damage. And then if you're the enemy team, maybe you have to start thinking about getting out of there, or, making sure you take everybody else down before. I don't know how it would play, but it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that I guess on the enemy team, you'd probably want to really stagger your team back, because distance can be very, very powerful. It's like with Sonya, you'll notice the pro teams, as soon as she starts a whirlwind, everyone will just back up out of the whirlwind, which basically leaves her powerless.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool idea. I'm not sure if it would work in the game. What about your first heroic?
I'm going with the touch of Yasharaj. Bolstered by the fervor of battle, pride begins to overtake Garrosh's senses, bestowing unto him the power of the Shah of Pride. Imbued with this ancient evil, Garrosh is able to mind control one enemy hero. Should enemy teammates remain too close to the mind control target, they will also become mind controlled.
I like it. Okay, so tell me how you're thinking it would work for controlling these. Is this like a Sylvanas mind control where you're actually controlling the enemy hero?
Yeah, I really, really like how they did Sylvanas' mind control. So you'd grab hold of them. If the teammates stick too close, they'll have, of course, a few seconds to get away without being mind controlled. But if they don't, then it's basically this conga line of heroes that you just feed to your teammates. You're like, oh yeah, there we go.
Oh, that is great. Oh yeah, that'd be tough to control that while you were in a battle as a tank, right?
Yes, but because you would have so much armor, it doesn't matter if you're standing in the middle of everything because you're
Right.
probably not going to die. So you just send them on their way.
Shoulder bumping and all, just going straight through.
Basically, I want a tank that can't be killed is what I'm trying to...
Well, that's
the immortal tank. I just want a tank where when I play them, I won't ever die.
Love it. So great. I love the visual I'm getting of these heroes, because that also adds another level like we always talk about. You want to stay away from that hero because you don't want to get mind controlled too, and just adds a whole nother level to the play. It's just awesome. My second heroic ability is called Enrage. Blood is thicker than water. When this heroic is activated, Garrosh no longer needs to gather stacks of frenzy to use his trait. It is placed on his R and now has no cooldown now has a cooldown and can be used anytime that the player needs it. The stacks of frenzy that he now collects reduce the cooldown of this heroic.
Oh my god, that works wonderfully with your trait.
Well, we'll see. That's the one that I was thinking might be a little OP, but basically you could activate that and choose to not take damage, just delay the damage until a later point, and then if you do basic attacks while you're in there, you can reduce the cooldown.
Yeah, so you could be frenzied the entire time if you played your cards right.
You could. I mean, yeah, you really could. Maybe that's not great.
Oh, I think it's better than great, Jeff.
That's the unkillable tank.
There we go.
Unkillable tank. Very cool. What were you thinking for your second heroic?
This one I'm going with body armor. Driven mad by the lust to conquer his foes, Garrosh becomes living armor, able to withstand all damage. Each enemy unit he kills is placed on his body to act as more shield. The more bodies on him, the higher his attack damage as he is driven by the increased bloodlust. However, the more bodies placed on him, the slower he moves. At any point, he can choose to exit this form in an explosion of body armor, dealing damage in an area around him.
Whoa, that is... Bring out your dad.
Exactly.
Bring out your dad.
And I got this idea because Kyle and I watch nature documentaries. And there are, I believe there are these little crabs, and they go around the floor collecting fallen detrita along the seabed, and they put it on themselves. And some of it are the corpses of their slain enemies, and they decorate themselves with it so they can impress the ladies. So I thought it would be really, really cool. Why wouldn't you have a warrior? Because warriors love to decorate themselves with the bones of their enemies, so why not the bodies of their enemies?
That is so funny that you got that from, but man, I'm picturing it. And then Jaina lifts her head up. I'm not quite dead yet.
I feel happy.
But the whole explosion, just like, I'm tired of this. And all the bodies go flying. And the ragdoll in the game is hilarious sometimes.
Oh, yes.
When Jaina, I always pick on Jaina, but when her body flies up in the air and just comes flying around, sometimes I audibly laugh because I think it's so funny that, the physics and stuff just get defied sometimes, and it's great. Mm-hmm. So I'm picturing this explosion of all these bodies, just, it's one giant, a ragdoll effect. All of the bodies just go flying.
Mm-hmm. Tumbling which way. There's some hanging from trees. There are a few hanging over the gate. Oh. No one knows.
But that'd be really cool. So you move slower, but you have more armor.
Correct. So I was thinking like a mobile fortress is what I was trying to turn him
Right.
into.
So if they respawn, the body still stays there. Like let's say that so and so gets taken out or gets added to the armor, and then they come back to life. Garrosh is still gonna have their corpse on his body.
I'm thinking his ability would end before they come
okay.
back. So it would end. Sadly, it wouldn't be permanent. I guess at level 20 we could make it permanent, and then they couldn't come back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Game over.
There we go. Don't get killed by Garrosh.
This walking mortuary just walks right into your core and slowly hacks at it because it moves so slow because it's got 5 dead heroes all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it though. That'd be a really cool tune to see with that, and he would have that total heavy step as he's carrying it, and that would just feel really, really Garrosh to me.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. All right. Four awesome heroic abilities. Now it's the real fun time where we get to talk about specialty skins. If we could do anything, if this hero was in the game, what would we do for a specialty skin, like when it came out with launch, or like it's a legendary skin in the game? And my idea was that he would be the Incredible Hulk. I imagine Garrosh to have the same fury and rage as the Hulk from the Marvel Universe, and his mount would be changed to a shield transport jet that the Hulk would just ride on top of.
Yes.
Not like in the cockpit, just on top
Oh
of
gosh, so it would be a jet. It wouldn't be the hovercraft.
Well, yeah, aren't those jets kind of hovercrafts
Oh,
too?
you're right. Yeah.
So, I mean, he would just be on top of it.
He'd managed to fit his feet in the cockpit, and he's using his fingers to grab the steering wheel. Yeah.
Hulk ways. And that's the feel that I had for Garrosh through this whole build is, just a big hulking warrior that comes in, takes a bunch of damage, has a bunch of survivability, which is the same exact path that you were thinking. What were you thinking for his specialty skin?
This one, it was the first thing that popped in my mind. I thought it would be really, really cool if Garrosh was a greaser. So he's got his leather jacket, a white t-shirt, and some too tight jeans. Now, even though he doesn't have the hair that the grease came from, it's still a cool style. And then his body armor, instead of being bodies, he would just roll up some more packs of cigarettes. So instead of being up in the sleeve, if you got 5 bodies, you probably have one in his pants, one in his pocket, maybe his shirt's rolled up a bit.
So he's got a leather jacket.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so funny. Gosh, I'm thinking of all the lines that he would say, and I'm not even going to attempt them. Because
I would imagine he would sing most of his lines, and they'd be of the doo-wop style.
The doo-wop style, but they would still be in his voice.
Mm-hmm.
That would be entertaining. Very entertaining. The specialty skins, that was your idea, Kristen, and I love that idea because it just puts a cherry on top of the whole build.
It really does.
It's a blast. And I like to think that Blizzard, they do the same thing. They sit around and they think, what's the craziest thing that we could do? Well, we could make Garrosh a greaser.
Why not? And I like to think, too, because they have to be serious about the hero for the entire building process.
Right.
So I would imagine they come up with quite a few wackadoodle ideas as they're developing these heroes.
For sure. And we've come up with some really funny ones on the show here.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I definitely think that Garrosh has been forged.
HeroesForge.
Oh, that was a blast. Warriors are tough for me. And, I think that this was one of the best ones that we've done so far as warrior goes. It's different enough. It's similar enough. It's got, similar traits to other warriors, but different enough to make them stand out, which is a challenge when you're creating a game like this that someday will maybe have 300 heroes in it. What are you going to do that's different? So it's a fun process to go through. On my build, we had things that, allow him to ignore damage. He's got this big sweeping up and down blow that just comes straight down, able to do basing attacks that give him stacks that help him ignore damage, and then of course the shoulder smash that goes in and confuses them. And then Kristen's build is awesome with the damages power. You know, being able to being able to have sustainability without having to sacrifice health is something that we don't see in the game right now from heroes like Artanis, who have to sacrifice it. And the whole armor build has an awesome WoW and Hearthstone feel to it. I think we did some awesome work on these heroics. They're always the most fun to forge, and the body armor one, I think, takes the cake.
Well, I thank you. It's a dream I have one day building a character that uses other bodies as shields.
That's a very Diablo thing.
It is, 100%.
But it's great. It is so great, and that's what we're all about, is off-the-wall wacky things. Because really, Heroes of the Storm, in the end, is just an off-the-wall wacky thing where, you know, Tyrael can live in the same universe that Murky lives in. So, I mean, that's part of the fun here. So, if you'd like to hear our past episodes, they're all on iTunes. You can find us on iTunes there. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review on iTunes if you enjoy what you're hearing. It really helps the show grow. And also, we have a website. It's HeroesForge.club. Over on the website, we have all of the other heroes that we forged. I mean, there are 13 other episodes over there where we've had a blast forging heroes, doing some really cool Diablo heroes. We forged from every Blizzard universe, including Overwatch. So head on over there to check out past episodes and follow us on Twitter. We're at Forge Heroes on Twitter. Over there, we announce on Thursday or Friday, usually, what hero we're going to be forging the next week, so you get a little sneak peek. And also, if there's anything happening in the Heroes world, we kind of tweet it out there, too. So make sure you follow us on Twitter. And also, we're on YouTube, youtube.com/HeroesForge. All of the videos on demand are over there, and you can check out all of the recordings that we do of the live show, which records Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. That's Sundays, except for next week, because of the Heroes of the Dorm final again. Just a reminder, we'll be recording the 11th, April 11th, which is Monday, and that'll be at 8 p.m. Pacific, because Kristen will be at the tournament, and I know I'll be at a bar watching it with some friends. It's going to be on ESPN too, everybody. I'm sure you all know that already, but get out there, spread the Heroes love amongst those bars and pubs, and, you know, get together, throw a party at your house or something, because this is the opportunity that we have to spread the wealth of heroes through ESPN, which is a major sports outlet. Also, if you'd like to support the show, you can head on over. We have a Patreon site over there, patreon.com/HeroesForge. Patreon's a site where creators like Kristen and I can get supported by their listeners and viewers. So head on over there and check it out. We have some awesome Patreon goals over there that we want to start providing for everybody. And check those out too. They're on the right-hand side of the page. Again, that's patreon.com/HeroesForge. Kristen, where can people find you on the interwebs?
People can find me at Dream Destroyer, DRMDESTRYR, over at Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter, and also my rippedforblizzcon.weebly.com blog, where I talk about health and fitness and my own fitness journey as I work to get ripped for BlizzCon. And this week we talk about breathing.
Breathing. Yeah, because you got to keep breathing, right?
Correct. You want to make sure you don't hurt your blood pressure on those lifts.
Right. And that you too, if you read Ripped for BlizzCon, can be a badass like Kristen.
Well, one can only hope.
One can only aspire. One can only aspire. The BlizzCon dates haven't been announced yet, have they?
Not yet, but we should be coming up to it. It's April already, and the tickets go on sale usually around my birthday.
Yeah, so I'm trolling the website for those dates, trying to see when they come out, because then the countdown for Rip for BlizzCon actually starts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, super cool. All right, everybody, make sure that you check out our website. It's got all the information. Again, that's HeroesForge.club. This was a great episode. I think we're going to go ahead and call it there, and we will see you all in the real world.